Hi all, welcome back to my YouTube channel, My Soul Choice. Today we are planning to cover the journey of UiPath as a product and as a company. So some of you might already know that UiPath started its journey in the year 2005, and within 2025, you can consider UiPath as a global automation leader. And this will help you, like if you're new to UiPath platform, and if you want to understand the growth of UiPath, which all products released in which year, this video will definitely help you. Or if you were following UiPath before due to personal or official reasons, if you're not following now and you want to follow back UiPath, I hope that this video will help you. Or let's say that if you're a business person and you want to know the capabilities of UiPath and utilize for your problems which you have in your organizations, I strongly believe that this video will help you to understand the journey and the capabilities of UiPath. So as I have mentioned, let's start from the year 2005 only. In 2005, there is no UiPath. It was Discover only. The company name was Discover. And they started as a very small startup company. Like any small startup company, they were having initial number of employees as 10. And they started in Bucharest, Romania. Okay. And they were not building robotic process automation. There is no concept of robotic process automation in the year 2005. What they were doing is mainly building software libraries and SDKs and automating their task. Automation was there, but there is no concept of robotic process automations. Now, what has happened in the year 2012 is they got an email from one of the BPO clients in Chennai, and their requirement was they want to build something similar to Blue Prism for low code automations. So you have to understand in 2012, Blue Prism already exists for the technology of robotic process automation. UiPath was not there even in robotic process automation. They were building automation SDKs and software libraries. But due to the cost in Blue Prism, BPO client contacted UiPath to build something similar. So Daniel was in 2005 to 2012. There is no major growth in startup company. It is surviving. It is not creating a lot of benefits. So Daniel took a chance and he created a small group, one of the best groups, and traveled to India to create something similar to Blue Prism. And you know what happened. The product was there, it was successful, and they liked the concept of robotic process automations. Till 2012, they don't have a proper focus. The company is doing something which they're continuously doing, but they don't have a proper focus. But when they were into this robotic process automation technology, it immediately struck their mind and they confirmed that this is something which we need to focus. So in 2012, they decided we need to focus on robotic process automation. So in 2013, they launched their first RPA tool for desktop automations, which they call it as like UiPath Studio. And one of the best things of UiPath is like they started listening to the feedback from customers. So they have different sets of requirements like product for deploy and scale, tool for monitoring and automation, more robust and scalable architecture. So with the right mindset and adaptability, the product began to mature steadily. And then in 2015, they decided we need to change the name from Discover to UiPath. And then the best thing happened in 2015. They got a call from investors from UiPath. When they came to Bucharest, Romania, they were hearing about UiPath a lot and they were interested to invest or fund of $30 million in 2015. So it was funded by venture capital firm Excel. So in 2015, this made a huge change because they were changed their name from UiPath 2012 to 2015. They understand the clients, they build more and more on UiPath Studio, and they got a good funding in 2015. And their annual recurring revenue was $5 million in 2015, which is not that bad. But even though from an RPA perspective, they're still a lot behind, but at least they close with a decent annual recurring revenue. Okay. So now what happens is that if you see the products which we have in 2013 to 2015, it was just Studio, Assistant and Orchestrator. And now if you are familiar with Studio and Assistant and Orchestrator, it is pretty straightforward for you. But if you're new to this technology, Studio is a tool which you use for development. If you see here, this is how the Studio will look like. In 2013, definitely it might not look like this one. It will be with very less capabilities. But now, if you see the look and feel of the studio, this will look like this one. So this is how way you basically develop the one. If you want to do something like a message box, activities, I'm not going to deeper into this one, but this is how the studio will look like. So this is the place where you build the automation, similar to Visual Studio Code and all. Studio is the place where you build the automations. Now this was there in 2013, and now if you see assistant is still there. If you search for assistant, capabilities of assistant is very simple. It is actually to run your automations. So if you're not familiar with robotic process automation, just to give you one line, robotic process automation is actually mimicking the human actions in the software only. For example, like you are launching an ERP and entering some details into that one. It is something you're doing on the software, right? With the help of robotic process automation technology, this can be done with the software only. Where it will build, you will be building from the studio, and from the assistant you will be running. And for managing all these things, like how to deploy the process, from where you will scheduling it, which server is used for the as robots, everything is managed using Orchestrator. So even in 2025 also, one of the major tools are Studio, Orchestrator and Assistant. So now coming to 2015 to 2017, as I have mentioned before, in 2015 and the annual recurring revenue was 5 million. By just 2 years of 2017, their annual recurring revenue, or RRR, become 35 million, which is a very good growth, and they become third position in the global market. But Daniel had a very crazy and clear vision of achieving 200 million ARR by the year 2018. They call the strategy as Genghis Khan strategy. Strategy is nothing. If the market is good, grab the opportunity without any delay, expand as much as possible within a year. This is the plan. But if you see here, the growth is minimum 4 times of 2017, correct? So whether they have achieved or not, we'll see in the next slides. So coming to the products overview, we have minimal number of tools by the year 2015 and 17, but what they have done is they have enhanced the capabilities and improvement to the existing products. And they started focus more on Citrix automation. Citrix automation is nothing, doing automations on Citrix machines. We cannot directly interact with the machine, so we have to use the computer vision AI for interacting with the Citrix automations, and they started focusing more on Citrix automation. So in 2018, UiPath changed its headquarters. It was in Bucharest, Romania. They changed the headquarters to New York, and even Daniel also relocated to New York. What happened in 2018, they knew they have a very huge target, and in order to achieve that target, they have to expand across the globe. They have already shifted their headquarters to New York. Now they have to expand, and they have, according to People Matters article from September 2018, the company was operating 30 offices across 16 countries, and the countries is split across North America, Europe, APAC, and Middle East, and they had many number of people in 2018. So the question is, did UiPath achieve the expected growth in 2018? In 2018, UiPath emerged as the market leader in robotic process automation, surpassing key competitors like Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism in several metrics. So according to UiPath, in November 2018, they exceeded 200 million in ARR, marketing a 4x growth from the previous year. So 2018, definitely they have celebrated the year 2018 because the growth was immense and huge compared to 2017. And if you see the products overview, they started UiPath Marketplace. Marketplace is nothing like public people can actually contribute for UiPath. They can create their own activities and process which might be useful for across the world. They will send it to UiPath. UiPath do their review, confirm that they are following the proper standards, and they will help to publish it in UiPath Marketplace. Now also it is one of the good tools where you can see a lot of activities provided by different members across the globe. AI computer vision they have introduced. As part of their focus on Citrix automation, AI computer vision is introduced. Workflow Analyzer is part of Studio only. If you are a developer, we know that there is a tool called as Workflow Analyzer, which will actually analyze our code and give us suggestions wherever the improvements are possible. Okay, RE framework is also a framework as part of the Studio only. When you develop a process, you can start from blank, or you can actually start from your framework. If you select RE framework, it has all the concepts like dispatcher, performer, and queue concept. Everything is already inbuilt, and most of the developers who are building complex automations are still following RE framework only. So this is one of the best frameworks provided by UiPath. But now if you see in process, there are a lot of other frameworks also. In 2018, they introduced RE, and which is still valid. So these are the different products which we have in 2018. When it comes to 2019, I would say that it is a year of realization for UiPath because they have achieved a lot in 2018, but there is a cost of how they achieved from 35 million to 200 million ARR in just 1 year. The problem is their projected cost was around like $150 million in 2019, but how much they have spent is around like $400 million. That is almost triple the amount of what they have budgeted for that current year. And I have mentioned that in 2018 they have hired a lot number of people, and when they do the analysis, they found that they did something wrong because too many people will kill the purpose. So definitely it would be a hard decision for UiPath for sure, because they were going in immense pace and suddenly they need to fire 10% of the people. Definitely in the market, it might not look good. And if you see the products overview in 2019, so one thing you could always notice is that business side is different and innovation side is different. They always focus on innovation side by a different team, and they keep on implementing new tools and new capabilities to the UiPath. If you see, document understanding framework is introduced in the year 2019. So what do you mean by document understanding framework is that so far we have focused on robotic process automations and AI computer vision come into picture for automating the Citrix one. But there is always a problem. Like if you want to do some automations on documents. So when I say documents, there are three types of documents mainly. Structured documents. For example, like passport of any company, irrespective of the member, the look and feel and the framework of the template will remain the same. That you can call it as a structured document. Pretty much easy to identify the fields from a structured documents because we know how the alignment, how the look and feel of the document. But there are like semi-structured documents, for example, like receipts. Receipts will always contain the similar information, like the amount will be there, some line items will be there, total will be there, name of the company will be there. But the receipt of one company might not look exactly the same as the receipt of a different company, right? So we call it as like semi-structured because the fields might be similar, but it is not in the exact same format as the structured documents like passport. Then there are unstructured documents, for example, like legal documents of a company or in any normal human written letters, you can call it as unstructured documents. So in order to get the values from a structured documents, pretty much some values are there if we can digitize it. But for the semi-structured and unstructured, they will require a machine learning kind of a thing. We have to definitely the AI component is involved. Sometimes AI component is involved, sometimes regular expressions are involved. But anyways, they need a component or a separate module for automating the task related to the documents. So they have actually introduced the framework called as DU, which is still valid. I'm telling like document understanding is still expanding. It is actually adding more and more capabilities of AI so that it is easy to get the values from document understanding, and it is still valid. So document understanding framework is introduced in the year 2019. Then they introduced something called as AI fabric. Right now it is called as AI sender. So in 2019 and all, it is more about machine learning, AI, all those things were on discussing heavily during the year 2019. So they introduced a component for AI sender, which is specifically to manage AI components. It was not just limited to automations of AI. It is more of a machine learning kind of a thing also. They have actually introduced a separate component called as AI Center, which is a good initiative from the UiPath side. Still now also the tool is there. It is very much valid and people are using it. Studio X is there. Studio X is, I would say that it is a lighter component of the Studio, but the focus is different. Studio is something which is used by the developers for developing their automations, but Studio X is mainly used by the business users. To connect it, let's say that Excel is actually a technical tool, right? Because sometimes we have to use very complex formulas, then pivot tables are there, some configurations are there. But if you see here, no one is considering Excel as a technical tool because it is very common and used by every business. And most of the times, business is more fast and accurate in using Excel compared to technical people. The reason is Excel is so democratized in the business area. Similar concept UiPath also is planned with Studio X. They want everyone to use Studio X to automate their task, not a complete process, but small tasks they want to automate without the help of any technical team. That is the concept of Studio X. It is not as common as Excel now, But hopefully in upcoming years, I think more and more people will start using Studio X. Then they have something called as task mining. And if you see here, few components, it is built within UiPath from their innovation center. But few, instead of reinventing the wheel, they acquire the different company and rebrand according to the product of the UiPath. For example, like Explorer Expert, they acquired and rebranded as task mining. So what do you mean by task mining is, in order to understand the process, it is more of a discovery phase. So there are different phases in the project. The first one is like the discovery. Discovery means like to understand what needs to be automated. So how we can do is that one is we can go and talk to the people, understand what you are doing, and then get the requirements and document it. And this is how we normally do. It is the role of a business analyst. The other way is that anything you do on your laptop, it actually creates a digital footprint. We can call it as like a logs or anything. It will be created in the laptop. So if there is a tool which can be installed in your laptop, which could analyze what all things you are doing whenever it is in the record mode and understand the process, maybe in couple of days or couple of weeks, it understands the pattern of your process and then give you a suggestion like these are the things which you are doing repeatedly. This could be a good candidate for automation. Focus more on this area. And then the business analyst will come into the picture and then talk about this. What is this process which you are repeating on a daily basis? So this is a high level example of how the task mining will work. And they have introduced that in 2019. Now let's go back to 2020. It was not a good year for UiPath, not just UiPath. I think many global companies, 2020 might not be a good year. One major reason is because of the COVID-19. And for UiPath, especially due to the events that happens in 2019, they have faced a major loss in revenue, almost around like $600 million. But when it comes to the product overview, they are still innovating. They have actually launched Test Suite. So what do you mean by Test Suite is that if even before robotic process automation, test automation was there. For example, automation using Selenium, automation using UFT. So the concept of test automation was there for quite a long time. So when it comes to RPA, robotic process automations, any build is there or any new application enhancement is there. There is no tool for the testing team specifically to automate their task. So UiPath was a very good tool for automating many things, but there is nothing specific to testers. So they launched a product specific to testers. You can call it as like Test Suite. It is still valid. Many of the testers are still using, and it's a very good product as well. They have introduced Automation Hub also. So Automation Hub is not a technical tool. It is actually to democratize the automation in our organizations. For example, like we are working, let's say that someone is working on a very big organization and they have a COA team set up in their organizations, and different business units will have different automation process to automate it. So they don't have a centralized repository where they can submit their request for automation. So UiPath built its own software. It's a web-based tool. They call it as Automation Hub. Anyone in the organization can access it for free. Once it is launched in their organizations, they can submit their idea. They have to answer a few questions. We can customize those questions as well. It will give an answer. Based on the answer, the COA team could decide whether this process is good for automation or not, or whether to prioritize the pipeline for the automations. So that is the importance of Automation Hub tool. I still believe that many organizations are using it. It's a good tool. It is not that technical or any complex. It's a tool which is used for the democratization of the automation. And task capture for process documentation. It's also a Windows-based very small tool. So what it does is like, and let me see if I have task capture here in my machine. No, I don't have task capture, but it's a very fairly simple tool only. What the task capture will do is like, task capture will actually capture when someone is, this is mainly used by the business analyst. Task capture is mainly used by the business analyst. So when they go for gathering the requirements, what they will do is like, they will request the business to install task capture in their machine. It is a desktop based tool only, and it will record the actions what is doing by the business unit, and automatically it can give you a PDD format. We can actually upload our own template, or in UiPath template it will give a PDD format with all the required screenshots and the details of what the business have done. This would be used as a draft document because screenshots are already in place, and then what we need to do is like, we have to modify if anything is there to be modified. So it's a good tool. It's a very simple tool as well. Then they have started apps low code platform launch. This is a very good start because UiPath was always focusing on robotic process automations, and then they have focused a little bit on AI, but they have never touched low code apps because UiPath is as such is as a low code platform. Say they started building apps also, and with integration with the process itself. So the process is always there. One of the tools for the app will be the process which you have already automated. Low code app, if you want to compare it, is something similar to Power Apps, but compared to the capability, low code apps is still in a developing stage. It has developed a lot. There are a lot of capabilities are added, but from my personal experience, there is still room for improvement. They can improve a lot, and then it would be a great asset for the UiPath. Process mining, uh, like I have mentioned, they haven't reinvented the wheel. What they have done is like they have actually acquired process gold. If you remember, if you are familiar with Celonis, process mining is also something similar to this one. This also comes under the discovery phase. If you remember what I have mentioned about the task mining is, we have to install one tool and it will actually capture all the logs, what the people are doing, and then based on that, it will give us a process overview, correct? Instead of this, what we, the process mining, how they do is like, any employee in the organization, they mainly work on different applications, correct? For example, like ERP applications will be there, or maybe a banking applications is there, software is there. So, and every application will have their own database. So if we can analyze the logs of the database or of the logs of those applications, we can find a pattern based on the timing of the logs. Like for example, like ERP, we are getting logs. It is not specific to one employee. It is specific to the whole employees in the across the organizations. So to be honest, it's a little complex logic. It's not a low code concept. Experienced database engineer is required for doing this one. So because of that one, only specific organization who have the proper talent in place is only using process mining now, and it is quite costly also. But this is a very good tool. I hope that in upcoming years, people might start using this to discover more and more opportunities in their organizations. Action Center revamped. Action Center is nothing human in the loop concept. It is a application given by the UiPath. Like if anything is required from a human, your bots can actually push it to Action Center, and once the human validate this one, then the bots can continue their process. So it's something related to human in the loop concept. So coming back to 2021, it's a very good year for UiPath because the company, it is one of the largest software IPOs in the history. The company was priced its shares at $56 each, and it was closed at around like $69. It raised approximately around like 1.3 billion. So 2021, it would be a great year for UiPath. They have gone for IPO, initial public offerings in the history in New York. So now coming back to overview, they have introduced integration services. This is also very good. What I mean by integration is like, so far what we have seen is like, we have option to integrate with an external application through UI. There is an option. Or if API is there, they have to expose the API, and with the help of API or HTTP method, we can connect to that application. But UiPath did what is like, they have started integration services so that we don't need to worry about the API part. We can directly connect to that application. We just need to give some basic information like authentications, URLs and things. For each of the applications, it might vary. But once we provide it, we can connect to these applications, and by default, it will give us some additional activities which we could utilize. So integration services, if you see, it is expanding like anything. It is more and more 100 plus applications are integrated now with the UiPath. So any automation related to these applications, we can actually go with the API method just by using the integrations. So this is very good. And even if now in 2025, when we go for the agentic method and all, this is very helpful. So integration services is something which we all should at least do one-time hands-on experience, which is a very good tool provided by the UiPath, and it started in year 2021. Automation cloud or serverless bots, it is still valid, but the problem with the automation cloud is like not every organization could go and do for the cloud due to security reasons. So they are still depending upon the on-premises servers only as bots. But if you don't want any servers in your organizations you want bot also to be in the cloud, definitely we can actually do with the automation cloud or serverless robots. Task mining fully integrated, good. Studio Web beta. Studio Web is also something related to Power Automate in the Microsoft concept. So it is actually a web-based or the cloud-based tool. It has capabilities of the studio, but not all the capabilities. For example, like UI interactions and all, it is not there in the Studio Web. But it is very helpful for scheduling and small task automations. It's a very good one, the Studio Web, and I'm sure that they are adding more and more enhancements to Studio Web as well. So that's all about the 2021. I would like to update one thing on Marius Turka, because if you remember, I was talking always about the Daniel time. So what happened to Marius Turka? Because Marius Turka was also one of the co-founder of the UiPath. So if you see here, what happened to Marius Turka is like from 2025 until 2022, he was actually working as the chief technology officer for both Romania and USA. But in 2022, he concluded his role in the USA. He focused more on SRL Romania only. I don't have much of an information from Marius Turka, but what you can remember is like he's still continuing as founder and chief tech officer at UiPath SRL Romania. He is more focused on the Romanian countries. When it comes to products overview, Studio Web, which was in beta, it became official in 2022. Automation Suite is there, which is already I have mentioned. Communication mining is there, enhanced governance features. What do you mean by communication mining is that now we are familiar with ChatGPT, right? This is an era for ChatGPT and all. So if you see the ChatGPT, if you give some documents, it can actually summarize you the details, correct? Or if you give an email, it can actually understand the intents and it can give you the sentiment analysis or maybe some details about the emails it could give you, see the ChatGPT. Why I'm mentioning ChatGPT is for you to relate only. UiPath also have a similar product. They call it as like communication mining. So communication mining can actually help you to connect to emails or some communications, and it can actually understand from those communications. So this is also a very powerful tool, which I hope like people will start using more and more in the upcoming years. We all know that 2023 to 2024, this is an era of AI. When we see the power of the AI, like other RPA companies, UiPath also faced a critical question. Should AI become an existential threat to RPA technology? But UiPath identified that AI is the brain. AI is the brain which can actually think, which the LLM is the power of the AI. But in order to do the action, they still need hands and legs. What UiPath decided is RPA is a good fit for hands and legs for the AI. So they decided to combine RPA technology with AI. Most of the clients started with AI and it's with automation, and this created a new dawn of automation era. That is the starting of agents. 2024, there was a change in leadership. Daniel decided to focus more on innovation and become chief innovation officer. But Robert Enslin, who had joined UiPath as co-CEO in April 2022, he started the position of the CEO. But due to some reasons, Daniel felt that it is good to be back to in CEO rather than become Chief Innovation Officer, and he returned the role of CEO in May 2024. And on the same year, I think Robert Enslin moved from UiPath and he joined other organization as well. So due to these changes in leaderships and then these rise of AI and some problems in the previous years and all, there is a drop in stock market. When it comes to the product overview, UiPath have introduced Enterprise Agentic Automation Platform. UiPath Maestro is introduced. Agentic Automation Framework is introduced. It is very clear that UiPath is focusing more on Agent Builder, and it is in the right path only. If you see the current status of UiPath have around like 11,000 plus customers spread out across 30 countries. Number of employees started from 10 to 4K to 5K. Revenue is like 1.5 billion plus. Community is very strong, 1.5 million users in 135 plus countries, 750K plus certified RPA developers globally. So the position of UiPath is great, and I hope that it will grow successfully in upcoming years as well. So that's all about the journey of UiPath, which started in 2005 with just 10 members, and you see where the UiPath is standing now. I hope this gives you some insightful information, and this will help you to have a high-level understanding about the different capabilities of UiPath. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching.